Hey traders and investors, checking back in on the cannabis sector. So wrong in the short term as the bears continue their complete control. The bulls did not prove anything to us. So not giving up on the sector overall, but definitely taking a step back and being more patient and waiting for the bulls to prove it next time before I have any interest looking long. How ugly can this get? The broader market is going to play a major part in answering that question. So I started getting interested in looking for a shift in the MJ sector back on August 27th and August 30th. And that was when IWM bulls, which again is a gauge for the higher risk, higher reward stocks, growth names in the broader market. That's when we confirmed a daily trend change. That's when the broader market bulls had recovered from weekly consolidation and we're looking right back at the all-time high. And it was essentially seeing bullish signs in the broader market and saying, okay, well, the MJ sector is really beat up. Let's see if this bullish move in the broader market can help tilt the scales, because obviously it's supply of shares outweighing demand in the MJ sector for a prolonged period of time, and looking to see if this broader market bounce and this renewed confidence back to fresh all-time highs in the S&P 500 can help tilt that and see a little bit of demand in the sector. And again, the answer very clearly is no. That was not the case and it didn't play out. And a lot of times people looking from the outside in on full-time traders like to point out mistakes. And my response is always, man, I've taken literally over 1,000 trades in the last couple of years. Do you know how used to being wrong I am? I am wrong hundreds of times, and you just stop out, you take your small loss, and you move on to the next trade. So that's what I'm doing personally. I have starters established in CGC, ACB, TLRY, MSOS, TCNNF. I would have added to those positions higher. I would have averaged up if I were right and the bulls started proving things. And it was definitely a more aggressive entry because, again, I was entering before the bulls had proven anything to us on this momentum shift. And the only reason I was looking aggressive was because it's been a really good year in 2021 and just risking a small amount of profits on the year to try and add some icing on the cake. So definitely stuck to my game plan as far as stopping out. And I knew what my max loss would be before ever entering the trades because I had my stop loss and game plans established on those trades. And I am now back to cash in the sector. Aside from ACB, I do still have a little ACB because we have not broken the low. But other than that, back to cash and patiently waiting, knowing that it will need a more clear momentum shift if we're going to see any kind of bull action from here. So we have to be aware of the broader market. The broader market just pulled back fairly notably. There's been some little red flags over this past week. And the question that we have over the next 2 weeks, is this the same as the last 4 times where we pull back, we bounce off weekly EMA 12 on SPY, which has been holding for 6 months, and head right back to a V-shape all-time high? Is that going to happen again? Or is this time different? Is SPY finally going to see the monthly consolidation that has not happened in 9 months and pull back, looking for more significant consolidation? And again, that's going to have a major impact on the short term in this sector. This sector got really ugly this past week, and the reason it did was because SPY was pulling back pretty much every day this past week. It was a 4-day week, and we can see the bulls were not present at any point. And you can see, just as any individual name, it was just all bears. It was the most significant bear control in a week that we've seen in a few weeks for the sector. So have to be watching the broader market closely. And honestly, the fact that I am back to all cash and back to being patient, I want things to get as extended to the downside as possible. And I would love to see SPY monthly consolidation right now for the sector to reach absolute bare bottom lows like we saw during the COVID dump when things just absolutely free falled. And then for that to be the catalyst, because again, if we don't have a news catalyst and if we don't have a political catalyst, then the only catalyst that we're looking for is a complete shift as far as capitulation, where there is nobody left to short and nobody left to sell longs. And the only thing left to do is see bulls buying dips and shorts covering their short positions. So that would still take a bit further downside to reach that point, in my opinion. But I wouldn't be surprised to see short-term bounces in the short term. But again, keeping in mind, we're just looking for daily lower highs. The trend is our friend as far as our guide. And for CGC, we have been in a clear pattern where every single daily bounce has been a lower high since June 3rd. So that is 3.5 months where every single bounce is a lower high. And a big red flag for me on my positions was the inability 2 weeks ago for CGC to break $18. And again, at that point in time, Every other individual name, TLRY, ACB, they all broke resistance. CGC did not. So here we are closing at the low of Friday. Daily RSI back to oversold. We can see the bear volume is picking up. And the next time we bounce, we can bounce 10% this coming week and still just be looking for a daily lower high to be a result of that bounce. So oversold bounces will take place. But again, when you're in a downtrend, oversold bounces, we're just looking to result in lower highs. The weekly RSI is on many names in both US and Canadian MJ back to levels where we hit during COVID. This COVID drop had the weekly RSI right to 30, and here it is again. Does that mean we're going to bounce right from 30? That's certainly not what I'm anticipating. It's possible. But the RSI we can see has been oversold on the weekly multiple times in the past. So what I do anticipate is that we will form a higher low compared to where we came from at $9, which is still a long ways away, but it could take weeks before it could take months for any kind of shift to take place. So just scouting a daily lower high to be the result of the next bounce and watching for a short-term bounce in the next couple of days. But again, not holding my breath that that's going to be a significant momentum shifter. ACB, 637 support is still in play. Again, next time we bounce on the daily, tons of space for a lower high to form compared to 774. And bears will be waiting to short daily lower highs because it's been working consistently for so long. And again, it's going to require that one time where it doesn't work and anybody entering short positions is then forced to cover higher and help the bounce get follow through. But if 637 breaks here, the next support level that we're looking at the weekly perspective, is down at, there's not much nearby here. 637, and then I'm looking down at a gap fill. 629 is a gap fill, and then there's really nothing until 6 psychological. TLRY, down under the double bottom of 1254, again, close at the low of the day as well as the broader market. And at this point, aside from the low of 1240, the next support level is 1102. So 12 psychological. And again, we can bounce 10% and just be looking for a daily lower high. IIPR is finally seeing some kinks in its armor as far as being the lead bull and just having a massive run up here. We can see a very high volume sell-off on Friday, losing the daily EMA 12 for the first time in a couple of months. Again, tons of space now for a daily lower high to be the result of the next bounce. Weekly consolidation underway. Weekly EMA 12 will be on watch, and potentially monthly consolidation, but we'll take it one time frame at a time. We have lost the daily uptrend. If we're going to see notable follow through, we will have to confirm a daily downtrend with a lower high and lower low. But I'm watching the weekly uptrend, and if we can hold 221, the weekly uptrend does remain intact. But again, even the strongest name now seeing weakness definitely stands out to us. MSOS dropped down to lower lows, daily RSI beat up, and again, short-term bounce on watch, just because we can look at the 4-hour historical RSI and say, okay, well, the 4-hour RSI bounces right around 20 every time it's ever been there in its history. We did drop to the teens once there, and here we are on Friday at the end of the day. We were down at 22, so approaching historical bounce levels, but again, just looking for a daily lower high to be the result of any bounce, and we can bounce 5% plus and scout that lower high. At this point, the weekly RSI is approaching oversold for the first time. We have a very clear weekly downtrend to go along with the prices. Just bear flag confirmed, and again, no sign of a shift in momentum. As far as the reason, why are we going down? Everybody's looking for a reason, whether it's naked short selling or manipulation on a CSE or institutions being forced to sell, blah, blah, blah. Honestly, that's the least important factor for me. Why is the least important? Price is the most important. And the price means everything. I know a lot of you are investors and you're holding for the long term. And for you, fundamentals matters more than price. And that's fine. But for me and how I have learned to play this game over the last 11 years, it's completely different. Price is everything. And fundamentals mean nothing because fundamentals can so often completely diverge from reality. I mean, we see it in both directions. Don't forget, this sector just ran 500 to 1,000% off the COVID lows. Don't forget, TLRY pumped to $300 and a market cap that was absolutely absurd. So it works in both ways. We're just obviously in a bear cycle. TCNNF, fresh lows. It's never recovered since the court case with the CEO's husband, and obviously the broader market and the sector have a lot to do with that. But it went from being a lead bull in the sector to now being a lead bear. And we have to make note of that. Weekly RSI from COVID, again, right down above 30. That's where we are right now. And daily time frame, anything under 2807 will be a daily lower high next time we bounce. And as far as support is concerned, we're in an area with a lack of support, which again keeps the bears comfy. We're looking at 2455 as the next level, and then 2270 after that. GTBIF is the lead bull at the moment, but monthly support is approaching, and we will confirm a monthly downtrend with our higher low, lower high, and lower low if 2456 breaks. And that level is only a couple percent away, and it is in play this week. We can see the accelerated drop to the downside on high bear volume. Daily RSI is the most oversold that it's been since COVID. Weekly is not oversold, but watching very closely to see if this monthly downtrend confirms. Because again, our stronger names in the weak sector are starting to show that weakness. CMPS, the psychedelic space is still holding on, and a lot stronger than MJ over the past 2 weeks. CMPS is still in a clear daily uptrend at this point, and anything above 3310 will keep it that way as far as keeping the higher lows going. But we have to keep in mind that we know a weekly trend change will be needed if we're going to see any longer term follow through. So we will have to top out, lose the daily uptrend, and then set a weekly higher low and higher high if this is going to be a longer term momentum shift. And it's worth watching this sector even if you're not trading with it, because this is what a longer term momentum shift will look like in the MJ sector when that eventually takes place. We had a clear bear flag confirm, we based out a bit, and then started a daily uptrend. But again, we have to change trends on one time frame at a time, which is why it's such a slow, long recovery when you're in a monthly, weekly, daily, hourly downtrend. You got to change the hourly trend bullish. Okay, great. Now you got to change the daily trend bullish. Great. We're just looking for a weekly lower high. You got to change the weekly trend bullish. Great. We're just looking for a monthly lower high. It takes a long time to shift all these time frames back in favor of the bulls. ATAI still in a daily uptrend as well from its all-time low. Anything above 1572, but the same story. We will need a weekly trend change if this is going to have significant follow through from the momentum shift that took place. MNMD is still very weak. We did not get any follow through. Weekly bear flag is confirming, and we're looking back to the must hold monthly support of 205. We're testing monthly EMA 12, and I do still anticipate 205 is more likely to hold than not, but that is 20% away. And next time we bounce, even if it's a 10%er, we're just looking for a daily lower high. So I wish I had more bullish things to say. It would result in more views and more happy viewers, but gotta call it like it is. The bears have complete control, and the broader market is helping even more with that follow through for the bears. So at this point, we're going to be watching for a capitulation short-term bottom, and then from there, it's going to be all about whether or not the bulls can follow through on bounces. Can we confirm a daily trend change? Can we see a significant retracement off the lows to create space for an eventual weekly trend change attempt? Again, like CMPS and these other names are currently doing. CMPS has space for a weekly higher low to form. Next time we consolidate, we can drop down 10% and still be looking for a weekly higher low to try and form. So we'll continue to keep an eye on the sector. Again, I'm not giving up. This sector has been very good to me over the years, and I know it will be again. I plan on making a lot of money in the USMJ sector. It's just a question of when. So I am not going to be forcing it. Everybody has different trading styles as far as their game plans. And someone made a post, should have had it pulled up, but a very good point on Twitter. I'm going to pull it up. It was CC Invest here on Twitter. We're all in the same stocks, but many of us are playing different games. Most disagreements on here are simply a difference in strategies, and that is the story of my life because it's a different game. I play this game differently than many people, and some people play it differently, and it works for them, and that's completely fine. There's no one way on how to play this game. I play it in the way that I have tweaked around for many years of trial and error to what works for me. And for me personally, scaling into OTC names, I will never do that again because I learned my lessons 8 years ago with making a ton of money and giving it all back. And I personally cannot, it's just a rule. I have rules. I have black and white rules that I stick to. And one of them is do not hold OTC names long term. So I will be back and I will trade them. And when we uplist, it'll be great for everybody involved, but no idea when that will be. I appreciate you watching. Best of luck out there, and we will see you soon.